PlayStation VR is now available to the public, and with it, Sony is bringing the most affordable high-end VR headset to the consumer market. But is it worth buying right now? The PlayStation VR retails for $399 if you get the headset by itself, but let's break down what you need to get in order to use PSVR. You're going to need a PS4, which costs about $300 at the moment, a PlayStation VR headset, which costs about $400 or $500 if you get the bundle that comes with the headset, 2 Move controllers, a PlayStation camera, and 2 games. So if you already have a PS4, you'll end up paying $400 for the headset if you have a PlayStation camera already. Or you can pay $500 if you don't have a camera and just get the PSVR bundle instead. Overall, it's a pretty low price for a VR entry fee when you consider that the Oculus Rift costs $600 and the HTC Vive costs $800 for the headsets alone, not including the $600 to $800 PC you're going to need in order to run them. So PlayStation VR is definitely the most affordable headset, but it's also the weakest in terms of power. The PlayStation VR has a single 1080p OLED display, but it's only one display shared between 2 eyes. The actual resolution per eye is only 960 by 1080. The Rift and the Vive on the other hand have 2 screens, one per eye, at 2K resolution. This means that each eye sees a resolution of 1080 by 1200, a much sharper resolution than the PSVR. To the average man, this means that the games on the PSVR look less sharp, and you'll see a lot more jaggies and anti-aliasing with the gameplay. You'll definitely notice it if you've tried the Rift or the Vive before. A good example of this is if you compare gameplay of Valkyrie. This game was made on the Oculus Rift as well, so you can put this up next to the PSVR version and do a comparison. With that said, when you're really immersed in a game like Eve or Battlezone, your brain tends to ignore it and just have fun. PlayStation VR is by far the most comfortable headset I've used. Its weight lies around the top part of the headset that grips your head, rather than the actual display like the Vive and the Rift. This means I was able to play PSVR in a much more comfortable position for longer amounts of time than the other headsets. To put on PlayStation VR, you push a button on the back of the headset to adjust the rim around your head. Let go of the button and use the scroll wheel to tie in the headset around your head. Then just push the button underneath the visor and pull the visor towards you. There's a little flap that wraps around your nose that helps give you a total blackout experience when you're gaming. What's even better is that the design of the visor lets people like me that wear glasses easily put on the headset while wearing glasses. There's also a little dongle on the cable running outside of the headset. Here is where you can turn on the headset, adjust the volume of it, and connect a pair of headphones to it. Sony provides you with a pair of headphones to use, but you can also use any pair of headphones that use a 3.5mm headphone jack. Setup is a little bit cumbersome for PSVR, so it's a bit of a trade-off considering it's also the most comfortable one too. To set up PSVR, you need to connect a microprocessing box to your PS4 with a USB cable, and an HDMI cable from your PS4 to the box, another HDMI cable from the box to the TV, an AC adapter from the box to the wall, and lastly a very long cable from the box running to the headset. In total, that's 6 cables you're going to need from the processing unit. The unit itself is actually more powerful for the PS4, which allows the console to show what the person that's using the headset sees on a television screen. It makes virtual reality a social experience so your friends can see what you're playing too. Let's talk about the video games. There's a handful of games out on the market right now, and if you bought the bundle version of PSVR, you'll get a demo disc that features demos for games like Drive Club VR, Eve Valkyrie, Riggs, and Battlezone. A lot of these games are first generation games, meaning that these are games you play for about 2 to 3 hours and you can play them over and over again. All these games are definitely novelties with a few cinematic console experiences like Batman Arkham VR. My personal favorite games at the moment are Battlezone, which is an arcade-like tank game where you shoot down your enemies, Eve Valkyrie, which is a space shooter that has you aim with your vision instead of a controller, Riggs Mechanized Combat League, which I can pretty much translate to robot basketball with guns, which is pretty badass. And lastly, Batman Arkham VR, which is more of an immersive interactive visual novel of sorts that puts you in the shoes of Gotham's famous hero. Are any of these games system sellers? Hell no they aren't, but are they really cool experiences? Hell yeah! Now let's talk about how you can actually play these games. You have the option to play most games with either a DualShock 4 controller that comes with your PS4 or 2 PlayStation Move controllers. For a more immersive interactive experience, you're going to tend to want to use the PlayStation Move controller, although most games let you use the DualShock 4. Now here's where a design flaw comes with the PSVR. Because you're using controllers like the PlayStation Move as your motion interactive controllers, you have to rely on the PlayStation camera and the PlayStation Move controllers to be able to see each other. If you pay attention to the PSVR headset, you'll see that it's covered around with blue LED lights. These lights, along with the lights on the ends of the PlayStation Move controller and the PlayStation camera, is what makes VR work. The camera sees where you are in 3D space and you can interact with objects in VR that way. The problem with this is that you're not able to do any 360-degree movements entirely, because when you move and turn around with your back facing the camera won't be able to see the lights on the PlayStation Move controllers, and so your hands will essentially disappear. It's basically a casualty of using old generation controllers like the PlayStation Move controllers from the PS3 era with this new VR headset. Other headsets like the HTC Vive have you mount 2 cameras on the corners of each of your room in order to see a full 360-degree view of you and the headset. This is actually why you can experience full 360-degree video on something like the HTC Vive and not on the PSVR. Now, aside from just playing VR games, you also have the option to use the cinema mode with the PSVR. What this basically means is that when you're playing something on your PSVR that isn't necessarily VR related, it makes it look like you're playing it on a giant IMAX screen. Now, because the actual resolution of the PSVR isn't full 1080p per eye, the resolution of your games or your movies or whatever you're watching on your PSVR isn't full 1080p. So if you play a game like Persona 5 that has full 1080p resolution on your PSVR, it'll look like you're playing it on a giant cinematic screen like an IMAX theater, but it won't look fully sharp like it would on the television screen. However, after watching a bunch of anime on Crunchyroll, a bunch of videos on YouTube, and playing a bunch of different games on my PS4 on PSVR, I can definitely tell you it's a very crazy experience that's pretty awesome, I must say, even with the lower resolution. PlayStation VR is fun and affordable. It may not be the best technical VR experience on the market right now, but it's the most approachable one that has the video game industry backing it. The video games available for it right now are fun, but not must-have ones, so as with most first-generation products, it's definitely a cool thing to have right now if you have the $500 to spend on it, but it's something you don't need to go out and buy right now at launch. With that said, companies like EA and Capcom are already vouching support for the headset with upcoming games like Star Wars Battlefront VR and Resident Evil 7 VR. The quote-unquote console-quality games you would want to play on PSVR aren't available just yet, but I fully expect them to in the future, and that's where the success of this headset lies. At the moment, PlayStation VR is a really cool tech product that shows you a glimpse of the future. But that's just it, a glimpse of the future. As with pretty much any new hardware release, it's a really cool new experience right now, but it's definitely not the best it can be that I fully expect it to be within a couple of months. So if you can wait, wait. And if you want to experience the future right now, then you can give it a shot. As always, if you have any questions about the product or my review, feel free to ask me in the comment section below or on Twitter for a much faster response. My username is @Luis_GVN. If you want to see some gameplay of this thing, subscribe because I'll actually be doing a few VR live streams in the future here on YouTube Gaming. Thank you all very much for watching my review, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.